Okay, I'll try to talk fast. The main thing is this. When Evan was first wrestling, everybody was a challenge. He got used to it. And now he's so good that only a few times a year does he have someone that can beat him, and he's not used to it. I guarantee you that, when you get to be in college and everybody's a 3 and 4 time state champ, you just don't care anymore. They're all really good. What do I got to do to win? And you just don't worry anymore. It's no different than if you guys were wrestling in Pennsylvania right now or parts of California. Everybody's awesome. So that's a disadvantage of being in Missouri, isn't it? When we get really, really good, you dominate everybody but a few. Just think if you had to speak in front of the class, you'd probably be nervous. But if you got to speak in front of the class twice, 3 times a week, you wouldn't be a big deal anymore. And then your teacher said, you can't speak in front of the class anymore except for once every 3 months. You'd go back to being nervous and scared again. So that's the reason going to the big national level tournaments and things are a good thing. Not that you have to spend $10,000 a year, but going to a few of those is good. And that's really a good thing about being in our program, where you're going to have access to these state medalist type kids. But so what happens is when Evan now, as a very good wrestler, has a match, he goes to a tournament sometimes 2-3 weekends in a row, and everybody in the weight bracket are kids that he can dominate. He's smiling, he's laughing, he's chill, he's laid back. He goes out there, he lights people up, he gets another gold medal. It's a fun day. Well, then he gets a good kid in a tournament, and now we feel a little bit differently. So I told him, don't you evaluate your confidence level by how you feel when you have an easy kid versus how you feel when you have a hard kid. All that being a little bit scared or nervous is a call to action. It means, holy cow, I got to bring my A game. It's no different than you. If you were talking to one of your coworkers about a project, that's not a big deal. But if the CEO of the company came in and you had to give a presentation Friday, you're probably a little bit scared and nervous. So what do? You get busy. You say, I'm gonna crush it. I gotta get all my ducks in a row, right? And you go into, I gotta bring my A game. So I always teach these kids, when you get nervous before a match, it just means my A game is required for this one, right? Now, I had 3 things for Evan. 1, when you have a big match that you're nervous about, write down, why am I nervous about this match? Well, my opponent, he jams underhooks and he's really good there. My opponent rides legs left-handed on top, and I'm not really good at countering a left-handed leg rider. Okay, my opponent sits out on bottom. Okay, I wrote those things down. Now what can I do before the match? I'm going to drill the crap out of my underhook defense. I might practice, pinching off an underhook so no one can get to an underhook anyway. Then I practice maybe my chin drop or riding under the arms when someone sits out. And I might drill my leg riding defense from the left side. I studied for the test. Now I feel less nervous. Just like if I study for my math test that has me scared, I'm not nervous anymore. Now, do I think I'm going to get 100% on the math test? Maybe not. Does that mean I'm guaranteed to win this match? No, but I feel better. Now, as far as guaranteed wins, when I go to most of these tournaments, there's guaranteed wins on the lineup. You have to say, look in the mirror and say, this guy can strike me out. This pitcher is a great pitcher. I better buckle down and I better plan on hitting the ball. It's okay to say that this team could beat me. This wrestler could take my state title from me. He is that good. Now what can I do to put the odds in my favor? Then I get back to work. You don't ignore the fact that your opponent could beat you. You say, this kid could beat me, but I'm getting to work and he better be ready because I think I'm going to pull this match out because this is what I'm going to do. So that's one thing about game planning also is we don't ignore what's going on in our head. We say, why am I scared about this match? Write it down, game plan it. It might not even be drilling a technique. It might just be, like my nephew Caden, he's scared on bottom. I'm like, dude, you had 10 months off. So let's just defer every second period. Now we had a couple kids we knew that if we deferred, they would pick neutral. So we said, if you get your choice in the second period because they defer, we will allow you to pick top. It's usually not a good thing, but so he felt good about the fact that we were going to allow him not to be on bottom against these best kids. And it worked out. He got fourth at state, even though he hasn't wrestled for 10 months. So we talked to him about what had him nervous about the state. And he was really nervous about going bottom and getting tired, or the kids picking neutral that knew he was good on top. And so we gave him permission to pick top, even though we knew that it might cost him a match. It's probably going to cost him a match putting him on bottom when he has a panic attack. So we game planned for this a little bit. He felt good about it, and it worked out. So just talking to these kids like a counselor, talking to someone who's who's laying on the counselor's couch is a good thing. So that's part of game planning. Okay, so the second thing is before the match, he has to actively get himself ready. If I have a glass of water that's dirty and I flush it out with clean, fresh water, and I turn the faucet on full speed, I can flush out that dirty water. And now I have fresh water. He needs to flush out his thoughts. So 10 minutes before the match, he's thinking, he's pacing back and forth. He's getting himself emotionally ready for the match. He's saying, I'm a powerful kid. I used to say I'm the fastest guy in America. This, that, whatever my strengths were. He needs to pace back and forth and talk about, I used to be proud to wrestle Oklahoma State. I was like, I'm at Oklahoma State. We bring the freaking A game. We bring the money. It's time to rock. And you get yourself fired up. So he can get fired up about the fact that he's got the best workout partners in America. He's got Tanner as a coach and Ty as a coach. He's got Chuck as a weightlifting instructor. He's the strongest kid in America. And you just start dreaming and thinking about, taking hard takedowns on the edge, hearing the ref yell 2, hearing your parents cheer, chunking kids on their back. You flush your mind out with thoughts of greatness. Because like we tell the kids in practice, and you parents don't always hear this because a lot of you aren't there during the drill time and stuff. If a race car driver is thinking about dying in a fiery crash, he's not going to race the car well. But he chooses not to think about that. Even though there's a chance it could happen, he says it probably won't. Now I'm going to think about bumping people out of the way, going 200 miles an hour, crossing the finish line, making the money, being on ESPN, popping champagne, being famous, hearing the crowd, throw rose petals at me. You get yourself emotionally revved up. And this is something you can indicate to him that it's time to get ready. And some people like music too. So if music helps them, that would be good too. So number 1, game plan for a match. Don't ignore being scared and nervous. It's okay. What has you scared and nervous? Write it down. Let's have a game plan, maybe a little drill session. Number 2, you have to emotionally get yourself ready. It's an active process. Number 3, ultimately, after the match, I want you to say, how do you feel good about yourself? Are you proud of the way you competed? And if he says no, say, okay, that's not a big deal. I'm not proud of myself every day either. I'm not proud of myself all the time as an adult, right? But I need to fix some things. So ultimately, I talked with Evan about you can win a match and wrestle like a wimp because you hit in a ball, you jumped out of bounds, you avoided wrestling, you wrestled scared, and somehow you magically squeaked out a win. But you feel like you wrestle like a wimp. But if you wrestle like a warrior and you're charging, you're fighting, and you're slick and you're wrestling, you're getting takedowns, you get 5 mat returns and you rode them out in the second period because you sucked it up. Now I feel good about myself. Even though maybe I lost the match, I'm proud of myself. Now, sure, I can always look back and nitpick myself. You can go back right now and say, I could have done this today. So there's always hindsight's 20/20. So ultimately, part 3 is the evaluation of how you feel is vital. After a match, I always ask kids this. Braden Shelton, after he lost in the semis, I was like, on a scale of 1 to 10, how did you feel mentally? He goes, I felt almost a 10. I go, good. Now we can evaluate your match. What was this? What was that? I mean, we kind of went over it. But as long as you were ready mentally and you feel good about yourself, even if he loses, he should feel good about himself. So part 3 is, wrestle for the feeling of being proud of yourself. That's the final criteria and the indicator. It's not always about the gold medal. Sure, it is, but we know that we're not going to win every match. But over the course of 3 years, 5 years, 10 years, I want to be winning 95, 96% of my matches, maybe more some years. And ultimately, when I walk off the mat with a second place medal, but I feel damn good about myself, then that's what we want. So, and I can win the match and feel good about myself and lose the match and feel terrible about myself. But I can also win the match and feel terrible and lose the match and feel good. So ultimately, it is about getting our hand raised. But when it comes down to it, it's how we feel about ourselves. Did we wrestle like a warrior? Did we give it massive effort? Sure, I'm not going to nitpick myself. There's always a little bit of something I could have done differently. Maybe I warmed up too soon. Maybe I didn't warm up hard enough. Maybe I could have taken a nap. Maybe I didn't cut my weight right and I was sluggish in the dual meet. Fine. Let's not play those games. No one's perfect, right? My college coaches taught us you're going to have 5 matches your whole life out of 1,000 where you feel like it was a perfect 10. You're always going to have a little bit of something wrong. You're a little bit banged up. Your legs are tired. You fractured your thumb. Your thumb's taped to your hand. There's always something wrong. So don't freak out over it. Ultimately, if you feel pretty damn good about yourself after the match, stick your chest out and be happy. But that's part 3, the final evaluation. All right. Hopefully this helps.